and welcome to another episode of Living on Blockchain. Today, we are speaking to Pauline. Pauline is the CMO at ChangeNow.io, and she's doing a wonderful job there. I absolutely adore their blog and the way they're kind of marketing an instant exchange in this day and age. They have some very exciting plans, and I had a really good chat with her about her journey and how she got started. How she got started is actually a very interesting one that you would like to stay back and listen in for more. So let's deep dive right in.
Hi, Pauline. Thank you so much for taking out the time to speak to me. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much for having me, Tarusha. It's a huge honor to be on your podcast, especially after all this time that we've been planning it. I'm doing super, super well. Hope you are doing great too. We're super excited to talk about what crypto and ChangeNow have been doing lately.
Absolutely. No, this has been such a long time coming, and I'm so grateful that you could take out the time and in this pretty crazy time that we're all going through. But yeah, let's start off by talking about how you got into this space. A little bit about your background and how you got into this space would be really helpful in setting the tone.
Of course. So basically, I always say that this story is kind of funny to tell because ChangeNow is my first job in crypto. I am a linguist by training. I received a bachelor's degree and almost received a master's degree in linguistics. And one day back in 2018, I was sitting in class, and the professor who was teaching the class, she said that her friend was looking for employees for a startup, and she asked us, like, the entire class, like, does anyone want to join? You don't really need to do anything. Like, you don't really need to have any specific skills. You just have to be like able to talk to people freely and not be stupid. So I was like, of course, that sounds like a good option for me. I was struggling financially that year, like being still in grad school, and my parents were sort of cutting funding for me. So I was like, yeah, this job sounds pretty nice. Put me through to your friend. And I came to a job interview, and our CEO, she was just sitting there, and she was like, yeah, we're a crypto company. Would you roll with that? And I was like, of course, sure. And yeah, I've been here ever since, done some pretty cool stuff, I think, in my own opinion. So yeah, this is a pretty funny story because
How you ended up.
because I've had a classmate in school, like back when I was a kid, who was like one of the early adopters of Bitcoin, and he got pretty rich off of his gains, like back around that time in 2017. And I was like, that sounds nice. And my mom also kept pestering me about Bitcoin, about like, we should buy it, we should buy it. And I was like, Mom, what are you talking about? This is all a scam. And now here I am 3 years later. Like right now, I am like a pretty huge believer in crypto. I think that crypto is a really nice way to sort of like bank the unbanked and unbank the banked. And it's really good for like social causes and stuff. So I do not regret joining this entire industry in the slightest. It's been nothing but a delight.
It's always a ride when you get into the crypto space. There's a huge learning curve and it's hyper growth. You learn new things every day, but it's so much fun. But what I found really interesting in your story is that your mom was badgering you to get crypto. Like that is like epic, right? Because usually parents would advise against stuff like that. So you must have a really, really cool mom.
Yeah, my mom's pretty modern like that. She actually teaches computer science in school, so she always like keeps researching new things, and she's really good with computers. And she's learning Python on her own right now, by the way. So she also has a little bit of BDC, and she just likes watching the numbers grow. So yeah, shout out to my mom.
Yeah, no, that's so wonderful to know. Yeah, that people are actually, anybody who's open to sort of imbibing new ideas, that automatically makes them very interesting, right? Because there are people, as we kind of grow old, we start becoming very stuck in our ways and our ideas. And that is, I believe that those people would never really be a good fit in the crypto space because there is so much to learn here. Like every day, you constantly, there's new thing every day. I like get up every day, and every day there is something new to learn and imbibe. So obviously, here's a huge shout out to your mom for like pushing you to get in here because what you guys are doing at Change Now is absolutely brilliant. I fell in love with it as soon as I had seen it, and that is why I was so happy with our collaboration as well for Oro. And I'm very, very grateful that we could work together there. And also, obviously, in the future as well, what you guys are doing is absolutely phenomenal. So could you tell me a little, perhaps, let's go back a little bit, like before crypto and, before your grad school, where did you see your career was sort of heading, like in the linguist space itself, or did you have some other interest?
Well, if we go like all the way back to like when I was a kid, I always wanted to be a teacher. I've been really good with, with languages and stuff. And like English is not my first language, obviously. And I've been learning English since I was, I think, 5 years old. And when I got into like high school, I wanted to become an interpreter. And like my entire, school career has been going towards that. And when I got into university, I sort of like decided that I wanted to pursue a scientific, like a scientific career, a career in academia. I was in grad school for psycholinguistics, and I've been doing work with phonetics, like experimental phonetics, just like, finding out about how babies learn to talk.
Right.
And unfortunately, that didn't really work out for me, even though like the work I've been doing with my scientific advisor was pretty interesting. Like no one has ever done that in, at least in our university, like in my, like sort of in my home country. But unfortunately, people in academia don't really get paid much. And I support my family financially. So, working, being paid peanuts in my university, just, like teaching a few classes a week was sort of not an option for me at the moment. Sort of had to put a damper on that. I didn't graduate grad school because I didn't finish my thesis on time, because I decided that like sort of like this job in crypto was my top priority, sort of like that.
Yeah, no, it's good thinking. Like, so there are so many college dropouts, and you've joined the bandwagon, and you've found yourself in a very exciting space. So, please tell us a little more about Change Now, and what is the differentiator there? Because it's like an instant exchange, right? So, I would love to hear more about that.
So basically, the idea of an like sort of an instant crypto exchange has been around for quite a while, with sort of Shapeshift paving the way. They were the very first service to start offering something like that to their clients. And it sort of came from the understanding that not a lot of people in crypto, especially with adoption, like going up and up and up, not a lot of people in crypto are traders. Not a lot of people in crypto are equipped to sort of deal with, centralized exchanges, which in their like main mechanics work a lot like stock exchanges. And it comes with, understanding the interface, being ready to act fast and take risks and stuff like that. A lot of people in the industry, especially like no coiners who freshly come into the space, they're not really ready for that. So an instant exchange basically
Removes those
works really well.
barriers.
Yeah, works really well for people who would like to invest in crypto, who like to sort of, do their first steps in reaching out to crypto, but don't want to deal with going on an exchange and getting registered and passing KYC and, doing all of that complicated stuff with the interfaces and whatnot. We basically like provide that service for them. Our main thing that we do that's under the hood, we take people's deposits and we trade them on a variety of liquidity providers themselves. All the person needs to do is come onto our website, pick the currencies that they would like to exchange between each other, and send in the deposit, and they receive their exchange deposit back in 5 to 10 minutes. We've seen a lot of people who are new into crypto say that like this is just the thing that they've been, looking for ever since they came to crypto, because like it or not, crypto does have a pretty steep learning curve.
Learning curve. Yeah,
Yeah,
very
for
steep.
people.
It's very intimidating as well, right? For somebody who's just
Of
starting out.
course. Yeah, and like when you come onto Binance or like Huobi, Croc, and any other exchange, a lot of the things on there can and do tend to be very intimidating for people who heard about Bitcoin I don't know, like a few days ago on TV and decided to just hop in. And where there's a learning curve, where there's like a certain intimidation factor, there's a lot of room for error. And it's very easy for no coiners to just like sort of get burned onto, a service that they don't understand. They get disillusioned and then they leave for good. One of our main goals is to make sure that no people do it, just to make sure
behind,
that,
right?
yeah, like just to make sure that if we are the very first thing that a person sees when they come into the crypto industry, that they feel welcome and they feel at ease, they don't get scared away, to put it like that.
Yeah. So it's about making sure that nobody gets left behind. If somebody wants to be in this space, and essentially that is all that everybody in crypto is trying to do to gearing up for mass adoption, trying to get as many people on board. Because ultimately, blockchain is the way I kind of perceive it. Blockchain and crypto is the way to it's about decentralization, and that is essentially what we need to live lives wherein we are able to sort of live up to our full potential. Because what we have seen otherwise, these systems are obsolete and they are crumbling. The traditional the monetary system, the fiat system, the way the governments function, people need freedom and people need a sustained way of living a life to be able to reach their full potential. And blockchain and crypto does that.
Of course, exactly. And I always like when I come onto interviews and people like I've had a really good snippet of when talking to Monero Talk. The person who was interviewing me, Doug, he asked me, like, you didn't come into crypto because you were interested in like when you just entered. You came into the world of crypto because you were offered a job. So like as a skeptic, you must have like a slightly different view on crypto than fanatics and enthusiasts might have. And after being in crypto for 3 years, I can say that crypto is really good for the people, not for massive big corporations, but for the people. Because I have a lot of friends who come from like disprivileged backgrounds who
Right.
like don't really have a lot of money, and a lot of the time they need like donations, they need help, financial help to survive because they like their landlord kicked them out or they're out of a job and they just need like $5 or $10 to eat dinner tonight, right?
Right.
So people usually collect donations on things like PayPal. While PayPal is a big company, they are very widespread. Almost everyone I know has PayPal. But when, for example, I'm trying to send money from Europe to the US, PayPal is going to charge me like up to 50% in fees,
Yeah.
right? So when I'm
A
trying
bump,
to send a
absolutely.
struggling person like $5, PayPal is going to charge me 7 in fees. And
Right.
I'd much rather send, like $12 to the struggling person and make sure the $12 that I've sent, the entirety of it goes to the person and not to like a big corporation that already has a lot more funds that they know what to do with. Yeah, like this is a little bit of like a radical take, but this is what I personally believe in.
Right. Yeah. No, that absolutely makes sense, right? Blockchain is a great equalizer, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. Because, in a lot of blockchains that are, less
He
centralized than say like
has an
Bitcoin.
equal shot. People
Yeah.
who might not be.
Yeah, like a lot of blockchains that are not, as centralized as, for example, Bitcoin is, because we have
Right.
to admit that Bitcoin is moving towards centralization with a lot of like big mining pools concentrating hash power, like
Right.
stuff like that. But there are a lot of blockchains that are less centralized, and everyone is equal. Everyone has equal opportunities. Everyone has an equal shot to success. And that's, I think, is really beautiful.
Right. No, yeah, absolutely. There are so many chains now. It's not just Bitcoin, and there are so many other people who are trying to really solve a problem with a blockchain. That, as I said, that it becomes like a great equalizer. There are people who are solving a problem for people who might be in the other part of the world, and you're actually solving a problem for somebody who's completely nameless and faceless to you, but you're changing their life one thing at a time. So
Of course.
yeah. So for with Dash is doing such amazing work like in Kenya, right? And Kenya and in African, in Nigeria as well. So Dash is like making a lot of headway there. So that is essentially what blockchain and crypto is primarily for, I think. And I would love to get your thoughts on that as well.
So it's a good thing you mentioned Dash, because Dash has also been doing like a lot of really good things in Venezuela. Last year, I think it was last year, the year before the last, when they suffered the very big inflation event where like the local currency basically lost the entirety of its value. People were like throwing pesos out on the street. And
Right.
Dash has been really well adopted there because they have this feature called instant send, when like people can send money to people like without even having a smartphone. They can just do
Right.
it with a text message.
Yeah.
And I think that companies and foundations like Dash are what makes crypto good. They are what makes crypto fulfill its original purpose. So it's not like, making another bank for disadvantaged people. It's about giving people like financial autonomy, giving people power over their assets and giving people freedom of ownership over their assets without, having to rely on another, actor who can mishandle the funds, who can like lose them or block them, freeze them, whatever. It doesn't happen with crypto. And that I
Absolutely.
think is a really beautiful and good thing.
Absolutely. You get back your power, right? You're reclaiming your power. It's your money ultimately, and somehow we're at the mercy of banks. There's too much concentration of power, and I think with any kind of concentration of power comes like corruption, right? And
Mhm.
it becomes, and that entire, as I said already, that the monetary system is kind of obsolete. Its
Oh,
fees stay short, right? It's unimaginable to us now that we've been introduced to this space, the crypto space, where things happen so quickly, and then you see the way the banks are working. It's horrendous, absolutely, and you see how quickly they would become absolutely obsolete and perhaps be phased out.
of course, of course. Even like I've thought about it a bit when we were talking about, the banking, the unbanked narrative. I think I was kind of not like I was wrong when I first said it, because it's not about giving another institution to people who have been deprived of access to, a traditional banking system. It's about creating something else entirely, something else that works better than a bank, something else that gives people a certain type of freedom, certain type of like agency that traditional banks can't really provide. So it's not about, banking the unbanked. It's about just giving people financial freedom.
Yep, absolutely. It's about giving the financial prerogative back to people. So yeah, I think we were in the right space doing the right thing because we are very motivated and we understand this reason well, and we see the vision, and hopefully we'll get there soon as well. So okay, so now to like looking towards the future, how do you see change now kind of playing a role here as we move into the future with more instant exchanges coming up? What does your roadmap say for that kind of competition in the future?
Well, as like I've heard someone say a really interesting point of view about not, like not seeing competitors as competition, but seeing them as partners and bringing, forth mass adoption. So we're all in this together. We're all in this, we're all in this like place and time in history where we're all working on making crypto accessible and understandable to as many people as possible.
Right.
And with DeFi, coming forth with like really, really fast, we've seen Uniswap come to, I could call it fame, like come to fame last year, and
Hmm.
other DeFi oriented blockchains are coming forth and making, finance truly decentralized. And right now, over ChangeNow, we are constantly working on, new solutions and new things that would make adoption come forward faster. Like they include, but are not limited to, making our service more accessible, making our service faster and more efficient for people who want to use it, but also introducing new things and services that would be helpful to people in the new crypto era without, sacrificing our sort of like company, I could call it culture or not.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
basically, we want adoption to come forward as fast as possible, and we're prepared fully to do our part to make it come forward faster. And one of those things that we've been working on, at least like have been researching, is atomic swaps between Bitcoin and Monero and like BTC
Right.
like and XMR like assets. Our CDO right now is reading up on the documentation. No ETA on that yet, but we're working on implementing that as fast as we
Super
can.
exciting. Yeah, that's super, super exciting. Very nice.
Yep, yep.
Okay, so lots of exciting stuff for change now. So now, talking about trends, NFTs have been making a lot of noise, right, in the space, and everybody seems to be getting into NFTs. So does change now intend to get into this space as well?
Well, I've been talking about it with our like CEO and CTO, just like feeling out the mood
Right.
that surrounds NFTs in the company. right now, if we do ever get to launching an NFT marketplace, it's probably going to be like a different separate product that we probably don't even associate with our brand. Right now, NFTs, like they have been like they have gotten super popular. I think like a couple months ago when there was like a big NFT boom with people selling one of his artworks for almost $60 million, and everyone was just like looking at it in awe, just being like, wow, holy shit, this is that's happening right now. I think it's like the hype is sort of dying down slowly but surely, because while I do think that, constructing a new, like completely new online art market with the help of NFTs is a really, really good thing. Like it's super exciting. This partially gives like a lot of artists financial freedom as well. I still think that the NFT thing is kind of super speculative right now, and there's a lot of places and a lot of points in the entire NFT thing that can go wrong. So, for example, we've already seen someone make a fake of Beeple's artwork, the most expensive one. So we see that there's a possibility of, squatting, creating fake artwork, stealing people's art to make NFTs out of it without their consent. And right now we're just sort of like looking what's going to come of it in the next few months. If we see that there's going to be a like a value not only for us as a business but also like for the crypto community as a whole, we will probably do something with NFTs. But right now we're just sort of looking. What we're doing right now with ChangeNow, with the exchange API, with the exchange engine, we believe that it's like sort of a lot more important than whatever is going on the NFT market is.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I really like what you said about how, NFT, this particular space is highly speculative. And, this is something that everybody kind of keeps going back to. What is the real utility, or what is right? So I understand that, okay, it is empowering artists and, into creating all of these tokens. But then as you scale, or if you're looking at things on a macro level, then where does this really end up? And that, I think, I don't really have a good answer to that, and I would love to know if you have some thoughts on it. Like, where do you think this is ultimately going to end up, or do you think it's yet to sort of really hatch out?
I think NFTs sort of like got caught in a wave of hype, mostly because this is something that allows the world of crypto and like the rest of the world sort of interact on like with a common denominator. So we have like this thing, art, right? Art is something that everyone understands. It's like human nature to understand and perceive art. And when something that allowed people to sort of, I guess, revolutionize art in a sense that like art auctions in the era of COVID, they don't really work all that well because everything has to happen online. And then like NFTs came forth, which allowed people to purchase art online with the help of blockchain. And this was like a thing that was hugely publicized with a lot of super prominent artworks being sold as NFTs. But then again, how should I put it? There has been a lot of fairly valid criticism and fairly valid concerns about NFTs. So like the first one being, NFTs harming the environment, which is kind of like a doomerous claim, but there is, like a seed of truth in it, because if we're talking about NFTs and Ethereum is still very much a proof of work blockchain with like, we don't really know when true POS is going to come on Ethereum.
Right.
Like people say it's coming, but it hasn't come yet. Most, like the majority of the transactions happening with NFTs are in Ethereum. And if we're talking about climate change, this is something that like inhibits, the environment sort of restoring back to the original state. Even if we say that the amount of transactions with NFTs is minuscule compared to like trading and whatnot, there is still a concern about that. And another thing which I personally believe a lot more in is that a lot of NFTs sort of have this inflated value. Because like people who have managed to gain a lot of monetary value off of NFTs, off of like selling NFTs, reselling NFTs and whatnot, they are, people who have already been famous. And if we're
Yeah.
talking about, a small artist, a small, like people who are just trying to get by doing commissions and stuff like that, they have to spend their own money to, to release an NFT. I've had a friend who tried selling pictures, like photos as NFTs,
Okay.
and she had to spend $70 just to, get the NFT on the blockchain.
Right.
And she didn't manage to sell the NFT after all, and she just like wasted her own money. And I think with if we add all of it into one thing, so NFTs being able to fake, NFTs kind of harming the environment, NFTs being highly speculative because there is like, it's just sort of like a bubble which just keeps
Yeah.
growing and growing and growing. I wouldn't say that the entire NFT thing as it is right now, it's something that the crypto community at large needs. I think this is just, I don't know. Obviously, this is not the opinion that my company has.
Yeah.
We have
This
a
is
lot
your
of people
personal
who
opinion. Yeah.
who believe in NFTs, but I personally think that this is something that's not super necessary in a form that it is right now.
Yeah.
NFTs might be useful when you need to verify ownership of something. It can, like, I think it can replace a lot of a lot of legal documents that claim ownership, but
Right.
as of now, selling pictures on the internet for millions of dollars is not something that we kind of need right
Yeah.
now.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
Yeah.
This is my cup of tea. I might be wrong.
Yeah. So same here. So, I used to think something similar about CryptoKitties, right? And then they became so big. And I just didn't understand it. I was one of those people who didn't understand it from the get-go about CryptoKitties and why it's like a big deal. And I still don't get it because I think that until, as you mentioned, that until there is a lot of utility for NFTs, perhaps, but in the same format, I don't believe that it's like a scalable sector. Like you need to find a use case which would actually scale rather than selling like a picture for like $1 million. Obviously, there are people who are buying it as well, and good for them. But for me personally, even I'm not able to understand the hoopla around it. I believe that there needs to be more utility or more of a solution approach to those NFTs for them to be valued so high. And as you mentioned, about small artists, right? And I understand that so well, that you have to put in your own money to actually get that out, and then also you wouldn't it's not guaranteed that you'll sell it, right? Unless you're somebody
Exactly.
famous, you're probably just going to be minting an NFT, paying out of your own pocket, and it'll just be there. So that is where the contradiction comes into play, because when on one hand you're talking about how you're encouraging artists, and on the other hand there are these artists that are actually putting in their own hard-earned money, and they're not getting anything.
Exactly. So, for example, like if you're a small artist, why not just, sell your artwork? You can sell it for crypto. This is a really good use case for crypto, for artists being able to, sell their artwork to people all around the world and getting paid in crypto. But if we're talking about NFTs, like I don't really know whether that's sustainable. As you've said, like if it's not scalable, it's not sustainable in the future. Because right now, what I've seen is just, people with people who have a lot of money spending said money on pictures on the internet, like spending your like millions of dollars in pixels, which I think is not available to not really available to a lot of people in the world, with like the economic disparity and stuff like that. I do think that there might be a lot of like really good use cases for NFTs, but
They're not right now, not in this
CryptoKitties are
current
not one
form.
of them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there might be some really good examples. And, if we kind of like put our heads together and really try to come up with a solution that's scalable for NFTs, we'd be able to. But as you said, and I really understand, and I kind of second that a lot, that in the current format, this is not scalable and this is not really solving a problem. So yeah, I'm
Exactly.
totally. So I've been running a little bit of a personal experiment myself. I tried like minting. So I do like some digital artwork on the side. I've been doing for years. But then I thought that I really want to understand what's the what is this hype about. So I minted like a NFT myself, and to see, it's a very straightforward process, and there is nothing very complicated. But the thing is that how do you even make noise? Wherein, as you said, that how do you get noticed is the point, right? It's like it's become highly competitive too quickly, and then the kind of valuation at these artworks of some of the artworks that I've seen is just ridiculous in my opinion, right?
Exactly.
So
And this is actually, this reminds me of a thing that happened a few years ago with OnlyFans. Like
right,
OnlyFans, a site
yeah,
for
yep, I
models,
know,
like
yeah,
for
for models to
selling
posted,
pictures and stuff
yeah,
to people. And
yeah,
it was like a really good way for empowering sex workers, for being able to to make income
yeah, in a
independently.
safe way, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, in a safe and sustainable way. But then I think it was Bella Hadid who sort of got an OnlyFans account. She didn't even post anything like to risk on there. She just posted like exclusive pictures, exclusive content. And when she registered on the platform, she made $2.5 million in the first day after she was registered on OnlyFans, and it broke the platform. OnlyFans works in a way that like you make a certain amount of money, OnlyFans deducts a commission and they pay
yeah,
you. I think they used to pay you weekly. But after the Bella Hadid incident, OnlyFans was forced to pay their models monthly, which deprived a lot of people of their perhaps only source of income. And I think NFTs are sort of familiar because we have like people like Beeple, we have people like Grimes selling their artwork for a huge amounts of money, like for huge amounts of money, while smaller creators just waste their own because no one buys their artwork, even though it's really beautiful. So
yeah, yeah. That's very true. It's the sad reality, but hopefully, we'll be able to sort of come up with a sustainable model for NFTs because definitely there is value to be had there, but in this current format, it doesn't work. Okay, so because we've been talking about NFTs for so long, very quickly now,
sorry.
I'll come to my questions that I was looking forward to. So here in the crypto space, like if there are so many people who are trying to sort of jump in, right? Who would you say that they should sort of follow, and what are the thought leaders you would recommend that people should follow to get the insights and the right information? Because we both know that right information is also hard to come by, right?
Of course.
In this space. Yeah. So who would you recommend?
So if we're talking about, about thought leaders in the crypto space, I would say that if you're just jumping in, it would be safer to stick to Bitcoin. And some really great people who I've been following personally are Anthony Popliano
Right.
and
Absolutely. Yeah.
Bobby Lee, the brother of Charlie Lee, who is like the
Mm.
crypto OG. He is writing a book about Bitcoin, and I think it's really, really worth checking out, especially like right now, where we live in a very interesting time on the market right now. Like this is an unprecedented bull run.
Right.
And
Right.
I think going onto Reddit and reading like what people on r/Bitcoin say might also bring some value. But if we're talking about like things that you absolutely shouldn't do, don't trust random people on the internet. Please always do your own research. Like a little bit of reading goes a long way. And if you're new to crypto, Bitcoin should absolutely be your first choice because everyone knows Bitcoin. There's a lot of information on the internet about Bitcoin. And only when you have a base understanding of what crypto is, how it works, what wallets are, what exchanges are, how to invest in crypto safely, stuff like that, only then should you consider, branching out into different projects
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Because actually, like I've been on an event a few weeks ago, and right now we're like, as already said, we are in a bull market. There's a lot of money spinning around on the market. There's a lot of money spinning around in the industry. And that means that there's a lot of space for bad actors to sort of prey on people who don't really know much about crypto.
Mm.
I've seen people who have learned about crypto like 2 months ago and they've already invested into some financial pyramid that's going to steal all of their money, and they are going to indoctrinate a lot more people in it. So if you're looking into crypto, if you're looking into investing, as Bobby Lee has said a few days ago to me, buy Bitcoin, hodl it for a few years, just
Yeah.
read up, watch videos, read articles and stuff like that, and only then should you sort of branch out into anything else other than Bitcoin. Actually, I'm going to take a look into people I personally read who also might have some sweet opinions on Bitcoin, and those being Andrew Fai is a really good expert in NFTs. He is like a pretty good acquaintance of mine. Yeah, Fluffy Pony, the guy who made Monero, is also a really good source of information on Bitcoin. I wouldn't follow Justin Sun because that guy is like really super into marketing. No offense to Justin Sun, he is brilliant, but I wouldn't get like the freshest crypto opinions from him. CZ from Binance is
Absolutely.
like
Yeah.
a good person to like,
Follow.
yeah, to follow on Twitter just to see what he says. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, no,
So
these are all good recommendations.
there
You
you have it.
start with like, the originals and the OGs in the Bitcoin space.
Mhm.
Because if you're really getting into it, Bitcoin is your best bet.
Yeah, exactly. It's most widely supported. A lot of people know about it. So if you have any questions, it is very likely that you will get an answer. That answer is going to be correct.
Yeah, yeah,
Sort of like
absolutely.
this.
So, this kind of brings me to my last question that I kind of put everybody through, whoever's on this particular podcast. So, if somebody is like looking in and we're peering in from the outside and they want to get into crypto, usually people have like this, notion in their head that they need to be coders and developers to get in this space, right? So, if somebody is like just peering in, how would you recommend that they start living on blockchain and they get into the space?
Well, I am one of those people who, like, as I already said before, I used to hold like a lot of really skeptic views on crypto and blockchain. And I
Mm.
know that a lot of people are going to have the same views as I did. Before you like dip your toes into crypto, I would suggest you listen to regular like crypto enthusiasts and like later adopters to just like get some experience that they already had, get some, insights on how to move into crypto safely in the current atmosphere. Again, like listen to some thought leaders, and only after doing your own research on crypto should you ever move into the space, because like as I already said before, it's really easy to get scammed, especially in this environment right now in the bull market. And our main goal, like as a project, our main goal as an actor in the crypto space is to make sure that people are treated fairly, people get their value, like the value for their money, stuff like that. So the only advice I could give to new investors is to always do your own research. Never trust anyone as far as you like. Always trust people as far as you can throw them, because when you move into crypto, like the sad reality is that there is a high possibility that you might be lied to. You might be scammed. So always get your information from various sources. If various like at least 5 different sources that you read, they agree in one thing, that it is a thing that you might consider true. If you've talked to some shady person on Reddit who's told you that you should like get this wallet and spend your own money on buying Bitcoin to like and store it on this wallet, then you might want to do some further research on that.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So this is very good advice for people who are peering in from the outside. And the space, as I keep saying, we are in need of people of from all the fields. And whatever your skill set is, you will be able to find space for it in this space, because crypto and blockchain is so dynamic and it's in its infancy and it's seeing continuous growth. We're always looking for good people who can take this movement forward.
Exactly. I personally believe that, like, not as like again, not as ChangeNow's employee, but like as a crypto enthusiast, as a person who has been in crypto for a while, I do believe that a little crypto winter you like wouldn't do the space any harm, because as we've seen in the crypto winter of 2018, like back in I think November 2018, when Bitcoin lost I think 80% of value or something like that.
Right.
We've seen a lot of bad actors who preyed on innocent no coiners. They sort of left the space because there wasn't any money for them to like to get from people whom and right now I think it's high time something like that happened again, because we've seen like people from Wall Street bets get scanned for
Yeah.
like $3 million
This,
or something like that. And this is
yeah.
not like this is a pretty common occurrence at this point.
Right.
We keep seeing like more and more news about people getting scammed while being promised quick profits. And first and foremost, crypto is not really about profit. People usually tend to think that, but crypto is about giving people financial freedom and not just getting rich quick. This is a thing
Yep.
that you should like keep in mind at all times, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's not a quick, get rich quick scheme, but it's about financial freedom. Any last thoughts, Pauline, before we wrap this up?
Is a huge thank you to you for having me on this podcast. This has been a very interesting conversation. I'm really happy that I got to share some of my thoughts on what is happening in the crypto sphere right now. Thank you so much for this chance. I think that Open DeFi and Aura Pocket is a very solid product. You've been nothing but a delight to have as a partner. I hope we reach new heights together. And as for people who might be listening to this podcast, again, I would reiterate to do your own research and
Just
don't
just
get
be safe,
burned.
right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, don't get burned. Just be safe. Absolutely. It goes for COVID as well as for crypto. Be safe. Look out for yourself.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
No, thank you so much, Pauline. You've been a delight as well as a partner and as a person as well. I really value what you've kind of brought to this professional equation that we have. And thank you so much for taking out the time for speaking to me.
Thank you for having me.